You're good whenever you are.
We'll call the October 15th Planning Commission meeting to order. We could have a roll call, please.
Sarah Reagan.
Here.
Patty Gatman. Tom Griffiths.
Here.
Jeff Cunningham. Anita Hess.
Here.
Glenn Lemon.
Here.
Ann Klein.
Here.
Mary Weiston.
Here.
Randy Sexton.
Here. We have a quorum, so we can conduct the business. This evening, we will be working through the agenda, starting with the consideration of the minutes. You should receive those in the mail and I believe also by email for the meeting of September 17th. Hopefully you've looked at them. If you haven't, please do so and provide any corrections, additions, deletions. And after that's taken care of, I would entertain a motion for approval. Then moved and seconded for the approval of the September 17th meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Is there any unfinished business?
No.
Okay, we will begin with the petitions for this evening. We will work down through those. The petitioner will be called to the table after we read the legal notice, and then we'll have the staff give their report, and then you'll be provided 20 minutes to provide your input as the petitioner. After that, any remonstrance will be provided 20 minutes also, with the petitioner having 5 minutes for rebuttal. So the first item of business, excuse me, is a rezoning number 604, Black Bear Real Estate LLC, Megan Braun, in care of Valerie Henry, in accordance with the Noel County Unified Development Ordinance, Article 9.22, requesting to rezone 6.47 plus or minus acres, being 4 tracts in a combination of use, from high-intensity industrial, which is I2, and open space, which is OS, zoning districts, to general business, which is C2, to allow for the permitted uses in C2 zoning district, specifically automotive/truck sales. The property is located in section 25 of Swan Township, quadrant 100, parcels 247, 225, 249, and 267. Common location is 11788 East State Road 205, Laotto, Indiana 46763. Final consideration for this rezoning will be by the Noel County Board of Commissioners on the 27th of this month in this building upstairs in the Commissioner's room at 10:15 a.m. We can provide staff report.
Yeah, just really quickly, I want to approach where the OS is at. If you see that OS on the right side of your screen in the purple layer, there is a strip of ground there that for some reason never got officially rezoned. So that's the reason for the open space zoning district there. All of the parcels here are zoned I2. There is a 2.8 acre tract to the south of the highlighted yellow parcels that is still in Black Bear Real Estate. That is not part of the proposal tonight. Eventually, if they want to add that into their property later on for the use, they could request another rezoning if this one is approved. As far as the comprehensive plan, it seems to have meet those conditions. The plan notes it as industrial. What's the other one? The current conditions and the character of the uses in each district, in my opinion, it's not going to change much. I doubt we'll see, and the neighborhood probably won't notice much of a difference. They'll just notice there's another business coming in there. I think it'll have minimal effect on adjoining properties. Laotto continues to grow. That C2 zoning district will probably be a little more relevant, especially because it's along a state road and very close to another state road. In my opinion, this was responsible development and growth. As this community continues to develop and grow, it should meet those qualifications. based upon that, the staff did not have any concerns, or nor have we heard any concerns. Tech review, which I do think I have on the screen here. NDOT initially was questioning the state road. When I let him know where the driveway was coming off of, he was done. And outside of that, I don't think we saw any other comments from anyone else on tech review. I'll show you some images of the property. Actually, going back one. This is the site plan. Come on. Those are the structures. I did get into the office on my first site visit there, and I did not take any pictures, but it is laid out really nicely. As you come into the main door, there's an entrance counter there, and then there's nice cubbies that sit behind that, and then it appears to me that there's some offices down the hallway. There's a shop to the north, and then one to the south, and some other storage buildings behind that. They can express what those are used for. You can see the open space a little more clearly on this image. Come on. And this is right at 205. They've got an opportunity to just put a name on that sign and move in. Looks like it's already there and well established. This is the office area and entrance. The rest of the property is completely fenced off. We've got Cedar Creek Meats there, and across the street is the ag. Oh, tell me what that company's called, Ann. Thank you. There's another vision. This is going down the road. At the very end of this lane before it curves to Cedar Creek is the entrance to that last parcel. So if they want another business purchases it, or however they want to do something else on that, that still has access. And then this is a couple visuals from the far corners of the property, so you can kind of get an idea of the scope of how large it actually is, especially if there's going to have commercial sized vehicles on here. They've got maneuvering space to move around. That is the one off of 205, that larger building there. That's the office, and there you go.
Okay, you say your name for the record and you present your petition and provide comments. We would appreciate it.
Sure. My name is Valerie Henry.
Josh Jasper.
We were obviously wanting to rezone the property so we can run our truck sale dealership there. And currently, since it's high industrial, we can't do that unless it's zoned commercial. So we're not going to make any changes to the buildings or anything. Obviously, the office will be used as an office, and the one shop will be used as a shop to service the vehicles that we're selling. And we're not sure what to do with the other 3 vehicles quite yet. So it might be a little too much space for us, but we'll hopefully grow into it. So that's basically it.
Okay, thank you. If the staff would provide any comment cards.
I don't think we've got any, Randy. Oh, there is one. Aaron Leibarger with no comment.
I think we got 2 people that have a site visit on this. You provide your assessment at this time, would you appreciate it?
Yeah, Teresa was nice enough to chaperone me on the first site visit. So she took me out there, and I don't foresee any issues with traffic in and out. Again, there's plenty of space to expand. I don't think it's gonna get crowded up and choked up very easily, especially with buildings and others. I didn't foresee any particular issues.
And you were very kind to drop the packet on to me and while we were gone, and then we and a good friend who was watering our plants and collecting our
Yeah, he was very sweet.
scooped it up.
I handed it to him.
Oh, okay. And put it with the mail, which I was not able to pick up until today
Oh,
from them because we couldn't catch them at home. But in the meantime, I'm familiar with the property, but I did do a quick drive-by.
Oh, nice.
And just the way it's all set up, I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. It's right in line with everything else that's along there. Nothing's jumping out that is red flag.
I'll throw one more comment out just for the simple fact that as you, it's a few streets away before you start hitting those residential properties. So that's another thing that I thought maybe was important to bring out. It's not neighboring any residential use.
Yeah, it's cushioned by other businesses and things like that.
I mean, it almost could be an industrial park the way that it's set up.
Are there any interested parties for the project at Laotto?
Mary, are you here but for the rezoning? Are you here for the rezoning?
Yes.
Okay,
Do you have any comments? If so,
we'll swap seats for a minute.
okay. That would be your time. Thank
This would be
you.
the time if you have a comment. They've
Come on up to the table, ma'am.
Sure.
State your name and address for the record.
Marilyn Myers, 11588 East 100 South, Avila, Indiana. Okay.
what brought you to the petition tonight?
Excuse me?
What brought you to come here to hear the petition tonight?
Really to see how this meeting goes and get an idea of what goes on.
Okay,
Okay. Thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming to the meeting.
Thank you.
This is the old land rail, correct?
Mhm.
And
The old API.
you're right.
Check on.
And this is actually lessening the use, correct?
At this point in time, we'll close the public hearing. This will be an opportunity for any discussion, any questions board members have of the petitioner, or any comments that the board wishes to make.
you had a question on service when we were together.
Yeah, so you mentioned that you would be servicing the vehicles that were gonna be for sale, and I didn't know if those back buildings, was there thoughts of using them for like a service shop or anything like that?
Not for outside service, yeah, we don't have any.
So are you bringing in new and used vehicles? Mostly used? So if they need some maintenance, you clean them up and get them ready. You won't be having people come to do maintenance at your facility? Okay,
So just detailing the vehicle, getting it ready to go back.
Right.
do you have other things besides commercial trucks, semis, semi-trailers?
Every now and then a few trailers, but mostly just heavy-duty trucks.
And I kind of think that should be on the record that the trailers will be there, because typically that's not a permitted outside storage material, but since it's relative to the use of the property, I think that should be on record.
Those medium, heavy-duty trucks and trailers associated with those.
Correct.
On the application, I noticed under the property info, it had acreage at 0.6. Is that, and I was confused because then further below, it had a correction on acreage, but,
Oh, that very first tax number
yeah,
that we put on the application, that's what throws that there.
okay, so. the
It's
reason
relative to that first tax number.
Is that,
So we've added all of the acreages amounts, and in the proposed amendment, it's that 6.47, which
Okay.
is a total of, that's actually a really good question. We've never been asked that before.
okay, I just noticed.
No, it's a good
that they
question.
didn't correlate. So you only use the acres for parcel ID 1, is that what you're saying?
That's the one that
It's the system automatically throws that into there because it's a generated application. So if you're subdividing your property and you've got 80 acres, that's going to be that first tax parcel that's going to throw in there. It's an 80-acre tract of ground. So it's just the way the system runs. We didn't change it. We probably could have, and maybe we'll pay attention a little more the next time so it's not confusing. But what was legally advertised was a 6.47.
Having no further discussion, I would entertain a motion concerning this with any conditions, if there are any. Motion would be typically in this situation, I believe, either a favorable recommendation, an unfavorable recommendation, or no recommendation at all is given to the commissioners who will make the final determination for the rezoning.
May I just ask one silly question? Okay, before we go there. So on the agenda and then on the assignment page, both of those say in care of Valerie Henry, but on the application, under the applicant was VJ Holdings LLC with Valerie Henry, and I just want to make sure for the record that if VJ Holdings LLC should be part of our agenda,
That's true.
just so
Let
it
me
all
look at the legal,
matches.
because I think it was in the legal.
Maybe that's been a little too particular, but I just want to make sure it all matches.
I would believe at this point in time, BJ Holdings LLC and Valerie Henry are actually agents for Black Bear Real Estate LLC.
Yeah, so technically, Black Bear owned the property when we started this, so I needed their, POA and everything, but we now own the property. So,
So that is something that, if Everett wants to chime in on that, this was
Yeah, I'm
not
not sure
advertised,
what
but
it says.
this
I thought
was.
the record keeping-
Well, I don't care what name was advertised. What I'm concerned about is that we have the proper applicants.
That's, yeah, when she just said that too, I thought, I wonder if that was maybe something like that.
But the application doesn't have to be made on behalf of the owner. The owner has to agree to it being done.
And there's more stuff stapled to that.
And the current owner is Ms. Henry, right?
Now it's Miss Henry and VJ Holdings.
Okay.
At the time of application, it was Black Bear.
Yeah, I
That's
don't-
why they were advertised.
No, I don't think it makes any difference.
You're fine?
They'll have to re-advertise it. Because the significant thing is not who owns the property. The only reason we're concerned about the relationship between the applicant and the owner is that the rezoning affects that land. So we want anybody that's having their land rezoned to either be the applicant or the owner. In this case, ultimately, it's the same person.
So in order to get on the
The-
agenda, that's why we did it this way.
The key thing is the land use. Not who owns the land, except in relationship to the person having the standing to ask for a rezone.
So we knew that that was changing hands at the time of application, and in order to get it onto the agenda, we filed it this way. But as of now, you own it. It is under their name.
So, good question.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answers it.
Kind of, sort of. And this was just
But as far as
information, it doesn't have
The VGR.
The VJ Holdings LLC.
Yeah.
but
well,
the
they're two separate
application.
issues. One is the application, which had met the standards at the time the application was made.
Right.
And the other is sufficiency of notice in the newspaper, where the significant thing is this chunk of land is being rezoned, and it's not who's doing the rezoning. As I frequently say, we don't evaluate the project, we evaluate the land. The use, that's the issue that the neighbors should be interested in.
And I don't have an issue with what's being done. Just want to make sure
We're clerically right.
I would have it.
No, we'll be a lot careful with it.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Make a motion to send a favorable recommendation on rezoning 604 with no stipulation or commitments to the commissioners.
Been moved and seconded to make a favorable recommendation of rezoning 604 to the commissioners. Move forward with the finding of facts.
Your response will be to agree or disagree to a favorable recommendation. The applicant, Black Bear Real Estate, Megan Braun, VJ Holdings, and Valerie Henry. The zoning number is 604. Physical location is 11788 East State Road 205 in Laotto. Current zoning is I2 and OS, and the proposed zoning district is C2. The Noble County Plan Commission, having conducted a public hearing for the petition as described, and all testimonies from any interested parties are now being considered with the following factors for the zoning map amendment for Noble County. The motion is for a favorable recommendation. Number 1, the Noble County Comprehensive Plan. Anita Hess,
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Ann Klein,
Agreed.
Mary Weissong,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Randy Sexton,
Agreed.
the current conditions and the character of the current structures and uses in each district. Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Ann Klein,
Agreed.
Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Mary Weissong,
Agreed.
Anita Hess,
Agreed.
Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
The most desirable use for which the land in each district is adapted. Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Anita Hess,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Mary Weissong,
Agreed.
Ann Klein,
Agreed.
Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
The conservation of property values throughout the jurisdiction. Mary Weissong,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Anita Hess,
Agreed.
Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Ann Klein.
Agreed.
Responsible development and growth. Dr. Sarah,
Agreed.
Mary Weissong,
Agreed.
Ann Klein,
Agreed.
Tom Griffiths,
Agreed.
Glenn Lemon,
Agreed.
Anita Hess,
Agreed.
and Randy Sexton.
Agreed.
Based on the findings, the board does now offer a favorable recommendation to the legislative body.
Thank you for coming this evening. Remember on the 27th, upstairs information.
At 10:15, and they're not always on time. Well, plan to wait a little. Sometimes I have to wait a little bit. Zach talks too much.
We can only do so much.
Anita, if I can offer for your peace of mind, the VJ Holdings was issued in the newspaper legal, just not on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item, potential UDO amendments.
Oh, goody. This is what you get for sending me to conference. I will tell you, went to conference on Thursday. I was going to go back on Friday. It was only a half a day on Friday, and a couple of the items that I listened to on Thursday were not as well prepared, and I just couldn't see driving an hour and a half each way to hopefully get something out of the one program I wanted to listen to. So I just couldn't do it. But I came back into the office, I sat down, and I really went through some stuff that I want to talk with you about. Fencing standards. One of the things that I think we need to include in our ordinance or make it policy is some of these platted subdivisions have a utility easement. And we do see that individuals, Mary, if you want to pull a chair up and sit up closer, you can, so you can see better. Have a seat. Be Bill Lay. Sit right there. You sit wherever you want. So other planners, what they're doing is they're getting some sort of a relief from whatever utility or owner of that easement is. So the building department we can address that, yes, you can develop in that area because we've got some sort of official notification. We'll add that to the building permit or the ILP. So that's something I think we need to think about. Lake residential structures, a dock is actually considered a structure in lake residential. We don't offer permits anymore. I'm willing to do a free permit just so we know they're there, because we're hearing rumors of a few of them in the county that have more than one and they're renting them out. Which is a home-based business of some sort that's not permitted.
That we want to go further and check with DNR. Because they do control.
I had a conversation with someone from DNR, and they don't necessarily, I think, even ask for permits unless they see something that's not right, is the way I took that conversation. So we don't really regulate for docks right now, but that was just something that could potentially cure a problem. I want to revisit livestock operations again. One of the things in the orange is the consistent language that is not consistent in this section of the livestock operation. Structures that are associated with a business should be included in the development setbacks, and right now it's too vague. We're requesting that we include any animal barn, the lagoon, the mortality, the parking area, the trucking maneuvers. It's not increasing the development setback. We're just making sure that the use that's consistent for that particular livestock operation actually shares that same development setback. We don't want a mortality being 15 feet off of a property line. It should be associated in that 150 development setback, like it is for other confined feeding. That makes sense? And Tom, I'm going to let him explain the next bullet point. This is something that he's really interested in, and he explained it to me, and I think I can understand where Tom's coming from on this.
Okay, so, yeah, the next one, you guys all know that I'm very fond of livestock operations in Noble County. But, and also thanks to Randy, with your numbers that come in under IDEMS regulations, 30,000 chickens, 300 dogs, whatever, we got the 150-foot setback in place, and that was really good, what Randy's idea. However, and again, I think there ought to be a chicken barn in every section, but they need to follow the rules. But I'm afraid what's happening is these chicken barns are coming in under the numbers at 150 feet. In the minute they're built or operational, they start looking for expanding into IDEMS numbers, which is fine, but they came in at our numbers. And I've thought about this for a long time, and I entertain anybody's comments or anything, but this, the 10-year period, will have no effect whatsoever on somebody that wants to come in under the numbers. That is my intentions. That's what I'm going to do. And it doesn't affect them at all. However, if you're wanting to build a chicken barn and you think you might want to expand, if it's in the back of your head, just go ahead and do the A3 part of it. You would come in at those numbers, and this would prevent all those people who have full intentions of being IDEM numbers, but coming in under the IDEM numbers that we have in our UDO.
It's a way of getting around the development setbacks for
Yes.
that next barn.
So again, it's gonna. If you want to come in under the numbers, you are more than welcome to. Under the 30,000 chickens, whatever, at 150 foot with Teresa's language above, it is not going to affect you a bit. But if you have any intentions, you might just want to go ahead and do it now. Get it done. You will be doing yourself a favor.
And those are two simple changes we could throw in there.
Because we've argued about numbers. You know, should we change the numbers? Glenn and I could argue all day long over the numbers, but you really can't argue over this one. If you think you want to expand, you might want to do it right the first time.
You're saying go ahead and zone it as A3 or
No.
just go to
No.
You just can't put another barn in for 10 years.
So John, what that's going to do is somebody wants to put in a barn for 30,000 chickens, doesn't have any effect on them whatsoever.
But the problem with that, and I get it why everybody wants to do that, but with rolling hills and things we
Get that
have,
last one.
I have a barn situated where it is because I didn't want to waste. Sits on a hill, very sharp off the ends,
No. I understand that.
but it's within the. It doesn't have to be under IDEM. But the reason I positioned that barn there, to put it back out, to push it out to where you guys were talking, we'll put it out into the cornfield. This was an area that was not being used. That's what gets me about the setbacks. I understand why we have setbacks. But with the rolling hills and the areas we have, sometimes it makes it hard. We're wasting ground or we're taking up farmland, and we could actually put it somewhere else. And it's not, it's out in the country, not hurting anyone. It's back to 150 feet.
But we're not changing the numbers a bit.
No,
You're
you
not
are.
looking to expand that into a.
But then, now for 10 years, you're not gonna let them expand, is what you're saying.
The other side of that too is you,
If they have any plans of expanding.
If you have the slightest inkling,
Plan ahead and put in for
Go ahead
that
and plan
zone.
ahead, but I understand that. But you can plan ahead, and then you just say, let's say I take that barn, and I set it out there, and I screw up my cornfields, I can drive around it, then nothing happens. Now, I not only wasted that area, well, I didn't waste it for the building, but I just wasted that for. I mean, I get what you guys are after, and I understand people doing what they're doing. But sometimes I don't think. or
but that guy
want to say-
doesn't have to waste that cornfield if he has
No, I'm saying I
intentions.
put it back 350 feet, or 300.
But if he has just intentions
I just
of,
wasted the front.
No, if he has just
You know, I just
intentions
wa- I
of being
wasted-
under
I
the
just
numbers,
made a 150-foot yard that I didn't need.
that's what he's gonna have to do anyway. With what's in our ordinance.
It's
No,
minimally
okay,
150.
so I'm back, I put the first one back.
I think it's 100 feet. In-
150.
Now, if you're going to Cape
150.
If you're going to Cape
150 and
rules, you're
250.
back further, so how are you gonna set it up?
But we're not following K4 rules. We're following under IDEM's numbers. And if you want to do that, knock yourself out. It's in the ordinance right now.
No, I'm just bringing up the other side of that. Sometimes I think we waste ground when we don't need it.
Can I offer that if it is a topography issue, there is an option for a variance, and the BZA board would probably highly acknowledge that. I've seen you do that in certain applications where there's no way you can develop here. It makes sense that they want to move closer to the side or the rear or whatever.
But you would have to get variance for the
You would have to.
second barn later part of the back. If you were getting variance, you would want to put it in front.
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah,
saying.
I see both sides here, but what he's saying and what you're saying, if I decide I'm gonna put a chicken barn in, so I'm gonna be under 30,000, so I decide to put it right up at the 100 foot or 150 feet. And then all of a sudden, plans change and I need another barn to make ends meet.
Well, we're
Now
all
I've gotta change it, but that barn doesn't qualify no more. What do I do with that barn that doesn't qualify?
Well, in that case, it would be a legal non-conforming use on that new A3 parcel, but now that allows you to probably build closer than the 250 because you already have that 150-foot setback. That's already too close. So we'd
Right.
probably put
So
that.
if you move into A3 for total confinement,
Everything
not
starts off
complying.
at that lower level. Yeah.
if you start off at the lower level, have no intention of really getting bigger, but then all of a sudden I have two boys that decide they're coming in. And now I need another barn, so that puts me over 30,000. So I gotta go change that, but I'm already not complying with the second ordinance of A3.
I think Tom's thinking that if you're in,
I mean, we're
this
gonna
is
argue about this all day, but I'm
Right.
just saying, I understand where both of you are coming,
Mhm.
but where's the limit on this?
The limit. Define the limit.
Well, if I decided not to put a first barn, I mean, I put my first barn in with no intentions, but I shut me out from putting another barn on the facility till I go to A3, but the first barn does not qualify for A3 for the setbacks.
And that's what I'm trying to say, that if you are thinking possibly,
I had no intention of doing it because I didn't know my kids wouldn't get into it.
In which case this would block you for the next,
But I
Block
think
X amount of years before you do.
Teresa, didn't you say the first barn at the time that rezoning day 3 becomes a legal non-conforming?
it would, because it's going to be part of your development plan that you're going to see on a
Okay,
rezoning.
you
So you're
put
going to have
the
a
first
site
barn in
plan.
150. You come back later, you want another barn, you rezone the whole thing. You put the second barn in, which would be behind the 250. Now the only thing would be, what if we have a catastrophic event and the barns get destroyed?
Then they both
Then the first barn
rebuild
would
are
have
at
to
the
go
A3
behind
zoning.
the second barn
Yep.
At that point, that's kind
So
of.
it would work out. It could work out because that rezoning, when you do a rezoning, you have to show your development plan to show where your structure's at. So as a board, you would decide, does it make sense to rezone this to A3 so that they can have another barn? We already know where that structure's at. So that's on public record. We've seen it. So that would just be a legal non-conforming use based on that change of zoning.
So what about if I add on, Tom?
If you add on,
Well,
I
if you-
stayed at 150 feet and I'm not gonna build another barn, I'm just gonna add another 150 feet onto the south.
well, that's gonna take your numbers, the IDEM numbers, and you won't be able to do that.
Correct. But yet, I changed it to A3, I'm still closer to the road than I originally was. Or property
And that's
line.
what I'm
You
trying to
can't
prevent.
increase the non-conformity though.
I get where Tom's coming from, because we have a lot going on.
So I
So
can't,
adding
I
on to
can't
the-
add on to that barn.
Adding
It's done.
on to that barn would increase a non-conformity.
correct.
A legal non-conformity, you cannot do that.
Only because of the front setback of the 150.
Unless you got a development variance and they approved it.
But most of these barns are about 56 feet. So if you're at 150 and then you go another 56, then that would only leave you 44 then, which would be a reasonable amount between the two buildings for a driveway and everything. And your second building would meet your 250 setback. Could probably go on for generations without any issues, but if something catastrophic, I'm thinking if the amount is over 50%, then you would lose that barn and you would have to go back behind the second barn.
Okay.
Anything over 50% removal, you have to come into compliance with the UDO.
Not removing, I'm just adding on.
But I'm saying, Randy said if you had some sort of accident where half
If
the
you had a
barn,
fire
Have
and
an
it only
accident,
affected
that's-
25% of the, you would not have
you
to-
could rebuild.
You could rebuild right where you're at,
Or tornado came through.
and only took part of it off.
And John, I want to make sure, and you already know, I am very friendly to animal agriculture. But if we don't do something, and we're never going to agree on numbers, ever.
Right.
If we don't do something, we are setting ourselves up to be taken advantage of to where animal agriculture will be under attack in Noble County.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I
I'm
agree.
just-
We got to do something. I mean,
And
I basically bring up stuff, so we're thinking, let's think about this before we just jump in. And the hills and stuff that we deal with, we make some difference, but like Teresa said, you could have possibly get a variance. I mean, that's why that one building is sitting where it is.
And I can tell you that the engineers, the integrators, already know they got it in the back of their mind how they're going to pull this off, and it's going to happen.
No,
I'm not so sure that we probably won't see one, and very shortly, where somebody has came in under the numbers and they're going to want to expand because it's working out, and it's going to be in less than a year's time from when they built their first building.
But I think that we can only encourage them, because as long as the regulations are the way they are, we can't force them. If they tell us that they have 29,999 birds,
But with this wording, if you got intentions, or your integrator or whoever's doing your engineering sees that, they're going to say, you know what, you ought to just do it this way.
right,
Be done.
Obviously.
And if you don't want to, and if you want 29,999 chickens, we've already got it on the books what you want can do.
And staff is pretty consistent. If we kind of get an underlying tone of some other side thing going on any project, we try to cover those bases. Terry had someone that came in the office a couple months ago. He wanted to build a barn in the floodplain. She said, if you change it to this or that, it was too small for him. He came back and said, I shot you down, but now I think that's the best route for me to go. So we do try to have those conversations. with
This
them.
is the way I feel that we can protect animal agriculture, because nobody likes solar. We're gonna start having data collection centers looking at us, and I don't want agriculture to be on the chopping block.
Well, that's on our agenda. It's coming up. So
To your point, Tom, I think that may be the way. I'm not sure I like it. Because Glenn, I think, had a good point. But in agriculture, we all have to keep up. You just seem like you gotta keep growing. Especially if that works.
So what you said there, we need to keep growing. So just do it right. How many times have you built a building and thought, wow, this is huge, and a year later it's like, wow, not big enough.
Yeah.
I think that's about my closet.
and it
So this is the county just telling you, John, instead of building a 60 by 40, just go for an 80 by 120.
And it is common for us to get people to come in and they only think about they want right here.
Right.
And sometimes we try to have that conversation for, what are you doing? Can we think about this bigger term? You got kids that might want to move out or this or that. And sometimes we can get that conversation at least thought of. This takes that one step farther.
Right.
Again, like I said, I wouldn't care if there was a chicken barn in every section. I know a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's a value-added product. I just want them to do it correctly.
No, I think that with these discussion, I think it has merit.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna bring up the downside of that.
I'm afraid the devil's advocate, right?
I like that.
Well, that's why we're here.
Well, it is. to discuss it. You know, I like it when people bring out some stuff that you never think about. Sometimes, a lot of times it's nothing, but sometimes it is.
And when Randy first came up with the 150 foot, I didn't like it at all, but after hearing how Randy explained it, I was like, you're benefiting those people by making them do those setbacks for when they do decide to expand.
And that actually goes into the orange bullet point above it,
Yes.
because that is part of what could offer them expansion in the proper manner as well. So if you're good, I'm going to ask you about this slide before I change it, but really quickly, let's look at accessory dwellings. We are getting some pressure to move the accessory dwelling. So right now, if you're in an A1 zone parcel and an RE zone parcel, you can ask for a special exception to have two homes on the same tract of ground. There are criteria that have to be met, but the most common one that we're seeing being challenged is 1,200 square feet. It has to be less than the primary structure. It cannot be any bigger than 1,200 square feet. Are you interested in diving into that conversation to increase that size? We've had requests to have no minimum.
That's no longer being an accessory.
Correct.
So you're wanting us to raise the roof?
That's the request that someone has asked us. Well, no, that's one of the requests too, is get rid of it altogether, not have a minimum.
Okay, so everything's on.
Yep, everything's open. I can't imagine that we would have no limit. I think if they want to go too large of a structure, just subdivide, you know, and that's been part of the conversation I've had with the few that have been pushing for us to have the larger square footage. If you're interested in toying with that number, maybe toss a couple numbers out to me what you think is reasonable, and then we can maybe play with that at a future meeting, whether we amend it or not. We can just have that discussion in a public meeting.
Did anybody ever talk about a percentage of the original primary structure?
No. If you had a 6,000 square foot primary structure, you want to do a percentage on that?
Mm-hmm.
We do have some. I'm just throwing it out there.
Are you talking about, so is the argument, tiny houses and I want to do a granny pad?
Most of them are a second dwelling, and most of them are not wanting 1,200 square feet. They don't want that smaller size.
I want to do it not smaller.
Most of them are wanting.
Considerable.
We had one for 30. We've had a couple of them over 3,000 square feet.
As an accessory?
Yeah. One of them with a garage attached in the middle, which is like a big living room.
I was gonna say that one duplex.
That's how we advertised it, as a duplex. So we've had a few of them, but I do have a small group that has been pressuring me to see what we can do about changing that number. If you're interested on any item on 1 through 4, before we change slides, I can add that to another agenda when we have a light agenda and we can start playing.
I wanted to bring up number 2, limit the number of docks per block waterfront. That would be a really good conversation to have with my husband, who's president of our lake association, and they ran into, the board ran into an issue, with dockage, because our community owns a lakefront lot. So if I have my own lakefront lot, but if you live in the neighborhood and you don't, and you can pay money to put a boat down there, well, that lakefront lot's 60 feet. So width-wise, pontoon, they thought they would be perfectly fine to put in 3 piers, elongated piers. And
Is that only if they're a U.S. vessel? In case you guys ain't been keeping up on the news.
Someone in the neighborhood that just was looking for something to do and got a hold of the DNR, and they definitely had an opinion on how far on each side of the property before you could have a pier. So,
Like a setback.
And that's why I brought it up earlier, because I'll give you two instances, and that's why we want to be careful, make sure we work with DNR on this. Some years ago on Big Long Lake, there was an area up on the northeast side, like it's involved,
Indian Trail.
and there were lots stacked back. And for many years, the people on the front who did not go all the way to the water thought that they had the rights in front of their property, but the people behind could only put theirs in the strip where the street was.
Yeah.
And one of the people in the far back challenged that, and it turned into a nightmare. A
Not for the
2-year
attorney, sorry.
better than 2-year litigation, which DNR said there would be no hearings, period, during that time. And then after that, they allocated so many feet for each lot. So if you had 2 or 3 lots, you were in good shape, because it was only like 7 or 8 feet per lot. So if you only had one, by the time you got your hearing, you could hardly put a John Deere beside it. The other areas over on Wallacey, they've had some real issues where, over on the south side, over the Waco Drive area, it's very shallow, it goes out quite a little ways. People would start out with their pier in front of them, and they kind of veer out, or they put angles on it, because instead of having 1 or 2 boats, they had 6 or 8 boats, and then the next guy couldn't get out down through there to get his boats in and out. So it's something that, whatever we do, we just gotta be cautious that we work with DNR to make sure that we're not crosswise with.
My big concern was B. Cannot be subletted or rented. It's not, you can't have it as a business.
So I got a question. As long as the dock doesn't touch the land, do we have any control over it? Isn't the water the DNR's?
It's considered an accessory structure in our ordinance.
And that is where the litigation law.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the problem too.
I mean, the state owns the water up to the high line.
I would just be really happy with putting B in there and being done.
But if you want rent space on the dock, is there anything to say you can't?
So you can't have a business there.
It like residential can have a business, and that is part of some of what we're dealing with. We have strong rumor from a couple people that have stated there's an area on lake that has more than one dock for that residential structure, and they're renting the other docks, 2 of them. So now you're overpopulating the lake.
Water, I know where you're talking about too.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. We've been concerned about that.
So that's kind of, when we haven't been able to kind of get any sort of proof, but if we at least had that it cannot be subletted or rented, that gives us a little more meat if we go against a zoning violation, correct?
Oh, yeah. And we have to have a violation.
So
Right. I don't have a violation right now.
I'm devil's advocate. So if we're saying that they can't have a business and we're saying that renting a dock constitutes a business, if they're renting the house as like an Airbnb, is that a business?
That's fair.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because
I thought it
if
was
we
actually-
don't consider the Airbnb a business,
Why is
I don't think we can
I-
really
I
say
was
that the
thinking-
dock is a business.
That's fair.
I don't know why you wouldn't consider it a business.
Well, that's my point. So if we're saying that lake residential can't have businesses, then
It gets more complicated if they live there during part of the year and rent it other parts of the year. But let's assume they do nothing but Airbnb. I have some relatives that do that. I mean, that's a business.
A lot of
We got a lot of violations then in Noble County on the lake.
Is create new ordinance that we don't have the staff or the time to figure out.
No.
I don't wanna do that either.
I agree.
If we're not gonna,
Well, some of it's just beyond, I personally think, not your example, but just what I was talking about earlier, that's really beyond us.
Mhm.
That, the situation in my neighborhood, the DNR got involved, even though we don't have a public access. Just saying.
Well, let's
But-
do this.
But the thing is it's a good point. The question is what is there that's involved us to the extent that we want to use our limited resources to be involved in this issue? If we don't have the ability to enforce it, because we have more timely things to worry about, then why would we get involved in it in the first place? I mean, if you say there's going to be dock regulation, why do we care?
Well, I don't think it hurts to provide information, like if you've got a paper and they come and ask you about dockage, you just say, here, get a hold of the DNR because they do have an opinion and they do have regulations about what you can do. And that takes, in my opinion, takes the monkey off our back.
Well, I mean, the DNR controls access to the lake, you know, in a sense.
But
So-
I think they're short-staffed as well. I
Yeah,
think
but
they
I
only
mean,
get
like-
to it if they see something egregious.
Because of their positions at DNR, for example, they decide where seawalls go.
Yeah.
You know, that's not something that we get involved in. It's one zoning board we learn to its detriment.
So if you're good, let's check number 2 off for right now. What are you feeling about number 1? It's a simple statement we can add into the fencing standards.
So you're just saying if it's on an easement, we gotta get a consent from
If there's a utility easement, or
The plats all have those setbacks.
they do, but there have been some issues with people developing in those easements.
And the question is do we enforce?
Who's regulating it? Because we don't regulate an easement on a plat.
So the question is do we enforce it or does the utility enforce it?
I think the
If
utility-
utility doesn't want the fence there, they rip it out.
Some years ago in Lander, I was informed if we needed to get in there with power line on Friday evening at 8 o'clock at night, and there's fences in the way, they're gonna be gone.
So there are other planners that are asking for that written consent. So we can just assume that the utility will take care of it, or
No.
have that as a
If we ever
requirement.
want to access
Who's
it,
gonna have the issue with the fencing being there?
Utility.
that's fine.
Not us.
Okay, taking it off. Yes. Accessory dwelling, are we considering talking about that one at a future meeting?
If we change it, we should tighten up the definition of accessory.
Okay.
Because otherwise you're just going to get two families unrelated to each other in any way, shape, or form in a sub rosa leasing situation. Sub rosa is Latin for secret. Yeah.
I guess I kind of
I
lean
mean,
where it's at.
we already know we have places like that.
The one thing about the accessory dwelling is, you had me think of it, I totally lost it. Let's just say that you have an accessory dwelling, you come into a special exception, it gets approved because mom wants to age in place. After that's done, even though our definition states, let's say that it has to be family, who's regulating that?
It's regulated by the nosy neighbor. I mean, that's how we regulate everything, pretty much.
But as a realtor, if
somebody
you see
brings it to
2
our
homes on a
attention.
parcel, will you know to contact the plan commission and say, can I have, is this a rental or does it have to be by family? I mean, is that a consistent conversation that happens?
If I was listing it, I would just make sure it was in compliance. Or ask the seller, are you in compliance and do you have proof that it's in compliance of the way you're advertising it?
So then it's on the seller.
In-law suite or hobby shoe shed.
And things do happen. Recently, I was contacted by an individual that has a relatively narrow piece of property with another one right behind it, kind of long pole house, regulated drainage out. Wants to put up a second structure for his mother to age in. I said, what's gonna happen after that? Well, I got kids, I think that may want it. So what happens if they don't? Then I plan to just rent it out. He's very open about it.
Right.
So there's where it's at.
It is headed in that direction and we need housing. Is that an opportunity to bring in some extra housing in the county? We always need renters. I would prefer having a rental structure close to a primary structure because in most cases the primary owner is still there. He's going to want that to stay nice and neat and tidy. He knows no one's cooking anything in there they shouldn't be, right?
Unless he moves out and builds a new house and rents both of them out.
Yeah. And that can happen anyway, right?
I've seen that done.
Well, a lot depends on philosophy, which is what we decide. I mean, there's a nationwide shortage of entry-level housing. And as long as you have large lots and large houses, that isn't going to change.
Right. Okay, so accessory dwelling. I heard one say leave it. Are we revisiting this, not revisiting it?
How much are you getting?
That's up to you guys.
No. How much are you getting?
Static?
Yes.
A fair amount. And we've had some petitions over the last 2 years that were more than the 1,200 square feet. You just had a special meeting last month.
Is this from one demographic?
The majority, yes, but not everybody.
nice.
Your last meeting, we had a special meeting prior to Plan Commission last month. That individual did not want to build 1,200 square feet. He wanted 1,600 square feet. The board approved him for 1,200 square feet. He has developed this property and is having inspections with the intention that at the future the family will subdivide that property, and at that point then he can add that next layer of square footage. So he's handled it well, but the accessory dwelling should be accessory to the primary. That's why it's called that. It has to share a driveway. It doesn't have to share the utilities, because sometimes you put that first home in and you don't realize mom now needs to age in place, so it can have its own septic. But sharing the driveway is a big kicker for this board to help hold to the fact that it's accessory to the primary. They should look like they go together. They shouldn't look like you got a large house here and another large house here and it's two homes on the same tract of ground.
The bigger the house, the more people that live there, the more cars, the more junk, the more everything that's going on. So, I mean, I'm in favor of leaving it small.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
All right. So livestock operations was the big one that probably had a fair amount of conversation. Are you interested in continuing that conversation?
Could we go back to accessory dwelling?
Yeah.
And ask those questions that we opened the book up to look?
No, I'm with you.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay. On the square footage, you're talking main floor square footage?
Living
or talking
space.
Stack,
Living space.
living space.
So if your bedrooms are up, that's living space.
Unfinished basement?
If it's not finished, which that gets a little
See,
hairy. It gets hairy because they do finish it later, but
Yeah, you put 1,200 on
but the building
1,200.
permit calls it as unfinished. If they're telling us it's unfinished and they turn around and finish it later, technically they're in a violation with the building permit. And we've had people call us and ask us about certain things, and we look up the building permit. It's like, that was not a permitted use. It was never added to the permit.
Showed one in another county, and this has been about a year ago, and it was a minimum square foot, or it
Mhm.
met the criteria, but what they did do was a 400 square foot covered patio that was further.
And got enclosed after we walked away. And then it got attached to another structure when we walked away, because I've seen it. That one's in a zoning violation.
So I think you need, even though they're arguing about the square footage, I think we've had enough issues to need to come back to this buildings, structures and talk about it, because they've been on the agenda a couple, 3 times. So even if that's what needs to get started on, I think the whole thing needs to be looked at.
So maybe if we toy with even just having the conversation of moving it up to 1,500 feet, but still less than the primary, would you be willing to have that discussion? Just, it's a discussion. Okay. It still has to be less. And we have had some that are already 1,200 that come in and say, well, I want the new structure to now be the primary.
I was gonna ask that.
We have done that.
That's okay?
We've done it. That's part of the application. So the current structure will become the accessory structure.
We all know that eventually, when we all have it, we'll be down the road.
With certain demographics, no.
Right.
Right.
Whatever. I just think for the most part, a lot of people don't do that.
Mhm.
It's gonna be sitting there, and what are we gonna do with this?
And that was a comment that came up at the convention that I went to, or the planning meeting with American planners. A lot of them are concerned because you want 2 homes, and then later on we've got one that's either abandoned, or it doesn't stay kept up, or it's a rental and it's now a problem. There is another community in Noble County that doesn't like the 2 homes. So it's just a conversation next meeting. So we'll bring back the accessory dwelling. Livestock operation, you want to dive into that a little bit more?
Only if you bring bacon next time.
No bacon.
I'm gonna bring the soybeans.
Oh.
Edamame?
You guys want to eat tofu? I'll bring. I got.
Just cook it with the bacon, it'll be fine.
Yeah,
I
but
tell you, I've been to China 4 times, and they always want me to taste the tofu.
It's a
Okay,
texture.
all right.
It's a texture thing. Look.
No, good.
Okay, so are we interested in number 3 as a discussion? I'm not interested in running these through to you guys like next month because we already look like the agenda's going to be fairly full. This is something we'll work on in office and eventually bring them to you sometime by 26. Do you like toying with the livestock operation idea? Okay, so let's keep that one in. So right now on this slide, we're going to look at accessory dwellings and livestock. The rest of it is going away. All right, Tom mentioned the bad word, DC. This was part of what we discussed at our planning meeting, renewable energies. One of the things that was discussed was in the overlay district for some of these items that we're working on, if we can figure out how to either add another section to the overlay or figure out how to incorporate it into what we already have, but also throw a little bit of a nugget in there that any other future type of generation of electricity, because we don't know what could be coming in 10 years, things are changing pretty fast, that would cover that extra spot. I think there was a community that called it in any future style or type of generation production, energy production. So something along that line, if we figure out that we could put some of these things in an overlay district, or in this case, I think like Lake County has put it into an industrial zoning district. That is by special exception. I'm going to be a little cautious on putting that type of a type of a position on the BZA. Patty's not here, can probably.
What are you talking about? The BZA part of it.
So, should this be a special exception? So, if you go to the industrial zoning district, it could be like a permitted use under a special exception, or would it be something that would require an overlay?
What, a data center?
Yep.
Man, that's putting an awful lot on the BZA.
That's what I'm saying. So I think it makes sense to me.
Is there a route to get a data center through our current rate?
Probably we'd have to do the generation of electricity, which is high impact. But I mean, we don't have no development plan.
Yeah,
We have,
that's a,
well, that's probably the closest zoning district based upon that. I'd have to look. I don't have my.
they don't
We can look,
generally
but-
use electricity.
But the thing of it is that we need in the ordinance, we need a development plan, we need a decommissioning plan, we need a safety plan, fencing standards, a lot of the same stuff that we have looking at in our overlay district might fit that same qualification of putting a structure like this in. But we don't have.
Right now, we don't even have it in our video.
I mean, it fits in an industrial park. I agree.
Telecommunications is water.
Your main concern, that's going to be water. Your secondary concern is the availability of electricity.
So the other thing that they're doing now is some of them are going to go to AC as best they can unless they have a power outage. So the water would be a backup if there's a power outage. The other thing that they're doing, one second, is they're making them supply their own utilities. So they're having to put solar in or some sort of generation for themselves to buffer some of that overuse of electricity. Now, Tom, go.
You said AC.
You said AC.
Well, they're going to AC for the cooling side of it instead of water.
But the last one I heard, had like 550 units on top of the building, and they decided they needed like 1,700.
So they're going to try to cool it with air conditioning unless they have a power outage.
So
They have to go to water.
So, fun fact: there's 9 There's 9 data collection centers in the state of Indiana, and they use over half of Indiana.
And there's more coming.
That'll be
Yeah,
another.
there's almost one in Syracuse.
We're gonna have to run lines to it, we'll be taking up more agricultural land by putting.
This
power
is a
lines.
new one for Indy. I heard of one that went in the dead center of an 80-acre field, and the rest of that 80-acre field was nothing.
Well, and then for alternative, I think Fort Wayne, that was in the paper there, how many generators?
They're having years old generators.
Like 35 to 170 more on top of that.
We've got noise, we've got lighting, I think we need to start talking about and looking at other ordinances and see if we can have some sort of guidelines and who makes that decision. Is it the BZA? Is it the commissioners? What kind of development plan do you want to see? What kind of things matter to Noble County when something like that wants to come in? That's on my radar tonight too.
I used to know the number, but I think it's 550 gallons of water per acre to cool.
They was gonna put a 500-acre one in over by the first of the summer, and then it got defeated because they didn't use on the property.
Of all places.
Yeah, the flattest ground, but it was the water source, and they were beside the transformer station. It was 3 times the size of one across from your place.
275,000 gallons of water a day to cool that. The 500 acre.
Yeah. But they got it shot down of rezoning, which is the only thing that we can do at this point right now.
What do they do with that water control?
I think it's a lot like an ethanol plant. I don't think they can reuse it because
Yeah,
of
So
the
they
calcium.
want it right back in the ground.
Can they use it for
I
themselves?
can't cool milk and put it
Can they
back in
cool
the
that
ground.
water and continue to use that water through their facility if they can find a way to cool it?
I give you enough information. I don't know more information.
They're not touched.
Right.
I just think that's it. I think we all need to learn something here. And I think this is an avenue I need to start getting
I
some
know
research on.
they proposed one in Kosciuszko County. So you might have some information regarding that got turned down. But there ought to be information from the,
Well, I
people
reached
that
out to another
participate in it.
planner because I don't remember what county it was. They just adopted an ordinance like the 9th of this month. And they didn't respond back. So I'll hit them again
I
to see if I
think
can find it.
I'm vague on this.
Right.
I think it's 550 gallons an acre. And I think, again, it's like a ethanol plant. If you put in or you put an ethanol plant in next to a limestone quarry or something, you can dump that water into the quarry and then reuse it. But it has to go into a holding facility, something to do with the calcium in it. And it's the same thing. If you don't got a holding facility, you got to dump it somewhere.
You could build a very large lake.
Yes.
A warm, heated lake.
Now, that is a
Right.
problem.
That'll be a problem, right? With little,
Because you can't discharge it anywhere because you kill the wildlife. It'll be hot.
But Tom's got a good point. You're after the water, you're after the electricity that we don't have. So now that, the state's already pushing everybody, we need more power. State did nothing. They knew this was all coming. We did nothing to make, green energy. We did nothing to prepare for this. We're gonna have around us what they all tell us to do. And now they wanna have these and take more of these.
we're already having the brownouts. I know someone that's had one.
So what are we thinking here?
So is there, somebody answer me a question, what does the data collection center do for?
There's different types of data centers. You can do them for Bitcoin. They can do them for storing your information, AI. This is what little bit I could find on it.
What is bubble gum?
Yeah.
All that data has to come from some supercomputer, and that's what is being done these days.
Where Tom went to.
Every time you get on Google.
Yeah, every time.
Everywhere you're from, all that info.
And where is your phone?
And you're talking about the electricity because they're using a tremendous amount of electricity, but in a very short period of a few years, every single thing that we have in our hands, in our bodies, on our cars, and our garages is all battery powered. We're all sucking up electricity more than we did 20 years ago.
Oh, and AI's gonna quadrant for everybody.
So we need the infrastructure. I don't know what the right way is to do it. The one thing that caught my attention in the planning meeting is one of the ones that has come into Indiana. The amount of tax revenue they're getting was like 15 million.
No, that's the one thing, help you. The counties are short money, that makes it more likely that more vendor, more fire, people bend over and let it put it in.
While
It's a
we're
sad thing.
on data collection centers, Sue Glick is one of the leaders at the State House on anti-data collection centers, in case anybody wants to know.
Well, I don't think we can avoid it. I don't know if it's going to come to Noble County, but I do think we need to be prepared. All right,
One other, what's next?
I'm moving on. Battery powered batteries. I got water in here too.
No, we take care of what you're doing first, and then something else.
All right. I'm assuming by the conversation you're interested in me doing some more data research on data centers. Is that a good assumption?
Even though I don't want
Yeah.
I think we're going to be stupid if we're not prepared. And that was the same thing with solar before. We were not prepared. We got in there, so let's get ahead of it. We are actually behind the 8 ball on this one, I will tell you. Come on. Battery energy storage systems is also on my radar. I could see if we had a potential for a solar project or just a battery battery energy system product. Ugh, I'm not going to get it in there. That is a possibility that we could potentially have a development plan for something along this lines, or it could be a supplement to, let's say, a solar or a wind project that were to come in. We don't have a lot on batteries in our ordinance. So I think that's also something we need to look into.
Now, if you're looking at batteries and stuff, like a telecommunications center, if they just put up a antenna, don't they have a
Fiber hut?
Yeah, don't they got a battery storage in there? And is that what we're going to classify, or something like
Fiber huts are a little bit different than the battery energy storage systems.
Okay, all right.
We did have a fiber hut that came through our ordinance here not too long ago. We did it as a variance, didn't we? Special exception. It's all hubbed in. It's all tight. It doesn't make noise. This is different. This will be a little more noisy. They can be. They'll hum a little bit, I think. They're looking at a water battery that's coming versus
I don't know what you're gonna do about freezing.
I think there's something in there. So these are just some things based on the data center and the battery energy is some of the things we just kind of want to think about what we want to pay attention to. Safety and fire codes are they're out there, but do we want to increase on them? Do we want to acknowledge which ones they have to follow? Especially if they're using something like a lithium battery, or we require no lithium batteries. I don't know. We can play with the planning on that. Y'all ready to dive into another UDO, another ordinance? Sarah needs to get her feet wet. Water extraction. We talked about this quite a while ago, and then Aqua Holdings came and went, but what if? What if we have another large company that comes in that wants to put a bottling plant here, or a data center that needs to use a ton of water? Do we want to have a water extraction regulation? Do you want to run that through potentially the health department, or do you want to run it through our ordinance?
I think it's necessary because you can skip one too. Somebody who just wants to pump water to a different location.
Oh, like another community might want our water.
Right, but not in Noble County. I actually thought about that one for a long time too. The amount of water that LaPorte was going to pump to Indianapolis, and I can't remember, guys.
And then it was going back in the
I
wall
was wanting
patch,
to think
wasn't it?
that was okay if you just tax it, like, or you charge. I can't remember. It was a very, very small amount. It was like 0.2% of a dollar or something. The revenue from that was like $750,000 a week.
But if I'm not mistaken, they were putting that heated water back in the Wabash.
No, this was going down to,
That was a different spot.
going down to Indy.
But I think the Lebanon project, was that the one?
I don't remember. It was a long time.
One
But
of them was,
I thought about that. Again, I thought about that. The amount you could charge is just almost nothing for that water. But by the time it adds up, it would be a boon for your county, and all you got to do is pump the water.
How long before you pump so much your aquifer can't refill?
I didn't mention that.
That's kind of what it was with, Whispering Springs, or Aqua, whatever it was.
Alcohol.
On the other hand, I just heard somebody say that northern Indiana can't hold all the water that runs off. It goes into the rivers, lakes, and streams into the Wabash, Mississippi, because our aquifer replenishes so quickly.
are we connected at the north with the one in, is it Steuben County?
Yes.
We are connected with that aquifer, and I think they have the largest aquifer in the state. So we're both feeding off of that same aquifer, correct?
In that area. I mean, about 80% of it is Elkhart. We did that drainage project. That's how I know this. Yeah. So we have we actually have three different directions that water goes in Noble County. Yeah. One goes to Michigan, Lake Michigan. One goes to Erie, and one goes to the Mississippi.
But the aquifer wasn't that, weren't they already still around? They were going to go to Toledo?
Yep.
Yep.
That was water that was, Randy may know, I don't know how big.
My
our aquifer
grandson's
is
taking a
huge.
shower twice a day.
But yeah,
Since
okay,
we're
so we
building
don't enough
limestone,
water,
that
we
is
don't have a
their
river,
water
we need to
extraction.
refill because we got, so we
That's
just shut
it?
down, we don't have to worry about maintaining the Elkhart, they have the water.
Some is going to end up in state regulation. Because,
And I don't always trust the state to do best for us.
no, I'm just saying that a lot of it's.
On the other hand, Kendallville can put in a pipe and ship it to Toledo if they want to, and they don't need to ask us.
Well, I will let you know that I've sent out an email to all of the planning building departments in the county, and hopefully everybody's going to be on a Zoom meeting with me on Friday. I'm going to start throwing this conversation at them. All of these conversations about these bigger topics, the water, the data centers. A lot of us aren't ready for that, and I don't want us to fly by the seat. And I would like to, if we start working on ordinances, that we're all somewhat compliant and working together. So the conversation starts with them this week. One of the things that came up in the conference was talking about water regulations, but they also talked about certain things about climate change and how that increase in temperature, maybe some things we might want to consider building into a comprehensive plan is warming and cooling centers, splash pads and things like that when it's super hot, giving people an opportunity to find a place to cool off, fountains at community parks. There you go. Those were just a couple things. Oh, and have no zone days. So days that you try to encourage people not to mow. And one more thing. There is a Senate bill. I did not look it up, and I will before we get too deep into any other regulation, that if we wanted to do a moratorium, I don't know if it's only for solar or if it's for anything in general related to this green energy focus that's coming. We can only do it for 1 year. We can't have it for any longer than that. So I can do some more research on that to make
Is it a
sure.
bill or something that passed?
Yeah, I think it's a Senate bill that passed. See if I had anything else. Here's the Senate bill number if you want to look it up.
I don't think moratoriums is the answer. We need to
425.
have the answers before it comes to us.
Say that again.
I don't think putting a moratorium on anything is the answer, because it sounds like we're not friendly to industry or anything. We just need to have the answers in place.
The only thing that I would be concerned about a moratorium would allow us a year to get something down, or at least close to finishing up an ordinance. That would be the only thing I think we should do a moratorium for. Does that make sense? So that nothing could come in the middle of us trying to get something down on
What you're
paper.
saying is, so we get our information that Tom's talking about.
Yeah.
we have time to get decided or not.
And to do it in a year, how long did it take us to do the solar?
4.5 years.
Well, 2 years, and then we kept amending it for another 2 years. So that's just some information. I did print some things out if you guys want to grab some things to read. This one was on Jay County. So I've got some of these here if anybody wants them. Moving on, if you're good. Oh, so I'm going to bring in accessory dwellings, livestock operation, data centers, and water extraction regulation as a conversation in the future, correct? Okay.
Moving on to number reports and addresses.
Addresses, we have a no changes, tear down and rebuild, correct? And then a new home.
Motion for approval. It's been moved. Do we have a second for approval of the addresses for this home?
Second.
Moved and second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries.
Yeah, I've had
On plat committee and
sorry.
administrative subdivision.
2 minor subdivisions, nothing pending. 1 administrative subdivision. Randy and I are going to potentially see one of the minor subdivisions come back for a minor amendment. I don't think it'll be a big deal, but that's still within the 2. I do have a question, Everett. I probably wouldn't mind if he got involved in this one. The center picture is the area of the parcel that you guys approved would that go to plat committee? The 2 lot for Bontrager? That went to plat committee. Okay, so on the far northwest of this triangle, the quarter section line, they saw that. They did see that. This parcel had no road front. After the fact, the highway department the GIS department came through and found this map on the right. So he wanted to just go in and amend the road to meet what he felt was originally where the road should lay out. But as the road has been developed, it's farther south than what that right map shows. So there is no one's not going to be able to get to their property, especially after having used it for 20 years. I think the T approach on the right makes sense to me as how that probably should be handled if he's correcting something.
This is the correct one here versus that, if you go by the records.
So what he was planning on doing was taking it all the way up to the fence and then all the way back down and around, and not amending the southern portion because that's where the road's at. But if the road width is a certain width, and this is where I want Randy involved, if the records show the road, like on this right screen, is 40 and 30, that would have increased that road width tremendously. And my main concern was affecting a property owner's zone parcel, not the roads.
I don't think that was ever correct. I think it was an assumption in making GIS maps.
I think you're
But I
100%
don't think
right
it
on
was
that.
correct.
I think you're right.
This is correct.
Yes, but the
only
look
thing
of it.
is this would be more a legal question for you, and that is the usage of that area there.
It's technically on that property owner.
No, it's for them to sue each other.
See, I have one at the corner of my farm that's much worse
I mean,
than that. Where I have a large area that's basically given up for county road use.
Yeah, I mean, it's very complicated area. If you have a road that's being used for public use, at some point, it's sort of like adverse possession, but they call it easement by prescription.
That's what the surveyor said.
You know,
Or the engineer.
You know, that easement doesn't go away just because we found new lines that show what it is. Now, you might litigate it and prove otherwise. In other words, you show that it wasn't continuously used for a long enough period of time to gain that easement. And there are other things about, like if it was within a subdivision, then everybody's presumed to have notice because you got a plat that says where the road goes, and that's where lawyers pick their money and judges make their decisions.
But do we just go in and amend them?
We don't do anything we're not asked to do.
Well, I think.
I mean, we are not the land. We are not the. title holder protection society. You know, they have to do their due diligence when they buy these properties and lay these things out. And if they make a mistake, then they need to fix it themselves. And where we get involved is if somebody comes up with a plat that's impossible to be done because there's no access, okay, then we care. But here, they have access, either by means of where the road's supposed to be or where it actually is. If they got some other issues, like my road goes over the corner of my property there, that's that landowner's problem.
I guess my question is should the mapping department be correcting the road right-of-way maps because they think it should reflect differently?
I do not know what the GIS's standards are. It's judging for what I've seen, close enough is good enough. Seems to be the standard, which is fine for their purposes. For our purposes, it says right on the site, not to be used for illegal purposes or legal descriptions. They recognize that because the data they get is imperfect, and one thing they know is garbage in, garbage out. That's a mantra of anybody that gets involved with computers. You got to go by the legal records on the ground, not on GIS. And anybody who relies on that, who's especially in the business, is a fool. And if you buy land on the basis of that, especially when it has a little red warning, don't use this description, you're a fool. We don't protect fools. You know, we protect people who've done their due diligence and expect the law to be followed, and we follow that law. Now, as a service organization, because we have the service aspect, if we see something that looks like a problem, we say, like, an observer on the Titanic, look out, iceberg. Yeah, but if they decide to drive towards the iceberg, that's not our problem. We can't get done what we're doing now without worrying about people's roadways.
Well, it keeps coming to my plate.
Yeah, well, you keep taking the plate and you hand it over.
Throw it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
That's not a legal opinion, so I suppose you should take that with a grain of salt. Right.
Code enforcement. The lower left image is Mr. Jack Meyer. He got a building permit to revise this into some living area, and he decided that he didn't want 960 square feet of living area as he was wrapping up construction. The building inspector brought it to my attention. We sent him a letter, and he's a super nice guy. He's said we're easy to work with, we're happy to work with. He was just all over we don't get those kind of people too often, so he's probably going to do a variance because he doesn't really want that much square footage. This is a cottage that he comes to when he wants to go fishing for a little bit in the summer. He doesn't think he needs that much square footage, so I think we'll be fine with him. No, I don't think so. It's him and his son that go fishing here. This WZ Properties is a small parcel. If you look between the two fences on the first picture, the little structure that's kind of leaning, that's the outhouse. Building department started seeing some issues going on internally and externally, so we're trying to get with the property owners to fix those things. But for us, the fence is in the right-of-way. The fence on the left on the top screen should come down or get a variance, and the fence at the road either a variance or come down. It's not a well-traveled road. I think this one could potentially be a rental. I think it'd be tough with an outhouse. Beautiful lake, Williams Lake. Absolutely a cute little area. Building inspector was out there working on it, and things keep changing, and so when they're coming in, all of a sudden there's this massive fence up. Hey, Teresa, is this okay? No, it's not okay. And it kept going up, and then we told him to shorten the 1 to 3 foot, which would be the back one. At the road, you can't be more than 3 feet. He shorted the one at the road at 3 feet, but that one's in the right of way. It has to be farther back. So it's a tiny parcel. It's not a well-traveled road. If they want to try for a variance, that's on them. But we have not had any communication since we put a stop work order out. So we may have to try to catch them. I think it was a... Do what? Yeah. It is a nice little area. The parcel's decent size. It's far enough off the lake. I don't think there's any floodplain there. I personally wouldn't want an outhouse, but I do think they're trying to get some plumbing inside. They are in the floodplain, so that is a little bit of an issue for them with how they're going to get the septic in. This is State Road 8 and 500. Mr. Oliver was a violation for us. We have a lien on the property. We finally just sent the new property owner a letter, just said, hey, you need to call us. Let's see what we can do there.
Yes.
Yeah, it's across the street.
I don't like the trees growing up over it. You can't see the house anymore.
That's fair.
I mean, yeah.
Is that approved fencing?
Honestly, maybe
Is there a new
like
property
wildlife.
owner, or
I don't-
they just sold it at
The
tax
ratio
sale?
with raccoons living
Tax
in
sale,
the
now
house.
there's a new property
I
owner.
don't think it really
Minimally.
looks bad anymore.
It's changed hands after the tax sale.
Yeah, it would be better.
Trees
Well,
have
how do
grown up.
they do that? If the tax sale was just a couple weeks ago.
It was the first tax sale, which was a couple of years ago.
Okay, well, I think it was on tax sale.
Again?
I just thought the RVs are gone.
Oh, that'll be great. Then this is just going to sit again.
Well, I mean,
No,
a
that's
lot of times things get withdrawn from tax sales, so maybe they did the sale early to get the taxes paid. But
I'll have to look.
you know, I
I'll have
was
to
told
look
that
and
that was
see.
on the tax sale.
Okay, so I knew it sold at tax sale once, and then the ownership changed. Everett's telling me he thinks it went up for tax sale again, which means we probably can't do much about it. Except I can get the trustee in there, and the trustee could take care of the tall grass and weeds, and then the property owner, whoever.
Then it becomes more.
Seriously, let's just leave this in a natural habitat.
You okay with all the extra raccoons?
Let it get swallowed up.
And even swallows. The raccoons. I mean, if they're there, they're not in my barn going after my farm.
That's fair.
Well, I can check it out.
Okay.
I'll check on the status of the tax sale.
Last one for me, and then I'm going to let you all talk. And Everett, I think I wanted something with him. This is a property that the owner has died. I think it went up for tax sale. I don't know if it was purchased or not. But this amount of garbage that is sitting outside, if this has gone up for tax sale, it's going to sit there for a long time.
Yeah, at least a year.
No one can touch the property if you bought it on tax sale. You can't clean it up.
Yeah, for a year.
So we've had the neighbors in quite a bit. They were not able to get the trustee to mow the grass, I think, so he ended up doing it himself because he was concerned about, yeah. And they're in a little wet area, so. I mean, Kenneth had put in the ticket system an avenue for us to get some revenue. We have a little bit of money that we could hire someone to try to go in there and clean up the ground, but I don't know if we have the right to do that. And how do we ever get recouped?
When you hire somebody to go, then there's a liability if they get hurt
Okay.
on the property.
Walking away from it. Member report.
I'm really not a member, but I do got something to tell you guys. It's kind of humorous, and I got to take care of my legal obligations first. Any similarities between this county and Noble County is purely coincidental. But last night I was shelling corn, and I called a good friend of mine. I will refer to him as Mr. Braun. He lives on a county in northwestern Indiana. A couple of years ago, solar wanted to move into this county, and they didn't have anything on their ordinance for solar. So they thought, we need to put something in our ordinance for solar. So they worked on it for 2 years. Mr. Braun just happens to be a farmer who owns land where the solar company wants to put the solar on. Well, the solar company decided to sue Mr. Braun because he had a conflict of interest in putting restrictions in a county where there were no restrictions before. Needless to say, we had a long
But they
conversation.
didn't have an application when they created the ordinance, correct?
I don't know. I do know the solar company is suing him for a conflict of interest for owning ground in a part of a county where they had a solar contract in place but not approved. And I was just telling him of, I probably ought to stop there, and we thought,
Huh, that's crazy stuff.
This is why we got Everett.
Fun.
Are you? And I'm like,
You could be like one in a million.
like,
You-
like, yes.
Could I have your autograph?
You should go buy a lottery ticket.
No, you really should. Yeah,
I
maybe
just-
not.
I just don't want to be sued by both of them.
There you go. Moving on, council, anything?
Last meeting, Sue Glick was there. I guess we probably had more questions than we got answers. But,
Fill those people in.
yeah.
Commissioners,
Don't think I have anything for tonight.
you're up, Everett. Anything you have?
We're proceeding on the zoning violation on Darla Jordan. We have a hearing set on November 18th, I believe it is. It's not a hearing, it's a pretrial conference. She wrote a letter to the judge that pretty much admitted most of our case. But I want to make sure the judge reads it that way before we proceed any further. And I understand she's been doing some cleaning up, so we're making progress there. The second thing is we're trying to develop an ordinance procedure for cases as simpler than having to do lawsuits. I mean, basically, if we do one suit a year, that would be faster than what we've already been doing. And it has the advantage because people hear about it, and you could say, but we have violations every, I'm sure you, I think it mostly deals with staff. You've got 5 people enforcing 40,000 property. Things are, you can only handle so much at a time. And ordinance violation procedure would simplify things. It's very closely related to the kinds of fines we're trying to impose now for daily violations of zoning ordinance. You have to have an ordinance bureau through one of your courts. And I believe Teresa's already talked to Judge Hagan, who deals with that with Kennevilles zoning ordinance. So the thing is to make sure that the legal foundation is there, and I forget what they call it now, but the finance people down in Indianapolis will tell you that you're accounting for your money properly if we can actually do that with an ordinance court type of procedure. That's where we are at the moment.
So kind of what I want, the one thing that Darla Jordan, we went after her for so long, 5 years, probably longer. We didn't see a reaction until we had a court case. So the ordinance court, which is what I would like to see if we could figure something out. The reason for this conversation today is hoping that the board will let us find some funding, even if it's within our internal budget, to pay Everett to create an ordinance that would help us get that done. And I don't know what that fee would be, but it'll make things a lot easier, because right now we're just throwing paper at people and we're wasting gas money. Certified letters have gotten very expensive. I think if we do a certain amount and then Everett can threaten to send them to court, however we lay that out, I think we'll get a better reaction a lot quicker.
So as of now, there's not like a set number of letters that you send that then triggers the next level of rate.
We have to hear from them within a certain amount of days, and then we can give them 30 days after that. We've been very lenient on saying if we're seeing something moving, I'll work with you. I won't ever charge you a fine if you get it done.
And as you can see, we have a fairly high compliance on the things that she's been mentioning. The ones that we really go over is people just don't comply at all.
Or they don't respond. If we get a response from somebody, we usually have a better outcome. But when they choose not to respond, we're stuck. We're spinning our wheels. We're driving by. Some of these places aren't safe, so you've got 2 of us out in the car, out of the office for however long. At some point, it becomes a waste of time and money. I think the court system, having a judge tell you you owe this fine and you have to clean it up within a certain period of time, probably has a lot more weight than me saying, come on. So with that, maybe Everett by the next meeting could give us a ballpark on what you think it would cost for you to do an ordinance for that, and then we can see if we've got the money for it.
No, the ordinance is relatively inexpensive. the thing is to make sure we have the,
So $50, you'd be good.
we have to
Can
make,
I take 5 minutes?
I got a $50 Starbucks card.
well, I tell you, when I was on the, when I was not on the board, but the plan commission attorney had a conflict, they hired me to do just one section of the zoning ordinance about camping out on Skinner Lake, actually, is what brought it up. How you define camping, can you have camping on a residential lot? And it took 3 months and $900 in the 1980s to draft that paragraph, which, as far as I know, until this ordinance came into effect, was never used. But so you want to do something that's worthwhile. But the only thing I have to really check on is their ordinance procedures for an ordinance court involves talent. I'm not quite certain what the legal foundation is for a calendar. Other than that, we already have a judge who's willing to do the work. And probably would have to anyway. So it's really just looking and seeing what we need to do, and whether DFI, that's what I'm thinking of, whether there's anything about how you handle the money.
So I think we can put that on for the agenda in next month to give an update.
I would think so.
You can do an update for us next month?
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other items for? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you, everybody. Have a safe trip home. Good luck with the continued harvest. And we'll see you next time.